From the Predator finally getting his shot at greatness against the King, to Mike Tyson siding with the former UFC champ to pull off an upset, here's why Francis Ngannou can beat Tyson Fury. Despite not having a manager, the former UFC heavyweight champion has finally scored this fight. Believe it or not, it took Ngannou more than a year to lock this matchup. He'd been in touch with the Gypsy King's team for the longest time, and despite a lot of interest from Fury, his team wasn't exactly on board, and thought it'd be better if he took on Alexander Usyk before entertaining the Cameroonian giant in an exhibition boxing match. But out of nowhere, Tyson's team has finally answered his call, and the epic clash of the Titans is set for October 28, 2023. It's going to be the biggest exhibition boxing event of this year, as fans get to see two monsters battle it out for a span of 12 rounds. Also, it's going to be a huge night for the Cameroonian, as he's expected to make nearly $50 to $60 million. And when you look at it that way, it's obvious why he's been chasing this fight for so long. But let's be real here for a second. Considering how Tyson has opened up the betting odds as the clear favorite, does Francis even stand a chance against the Gypsy King, who just so happens to be one of the greatest boxers of this era? It's a difficult and daunting task, to say the least, but if there's anyone who can pull it off, it has to be the Predator. He has the knockout power to get things done, but there's a huge gap in their skill levels. Tyson has been boxing ever since he was a kid, and Ngannou, well, even though he's a decent striker, he has very little experience in the art of boxing. Believe it or not, most of the predictors' wins at the UFC have come via knockout, and that's no surprise either, since he hits like a truck. So if he's so good at striking, shouldn't his boxing fight against Fury be another day at the office? Well, as good of a striker he may be, at the end of the day, he's not a boxer. He's a mixed martial artist, and honestly, if it was Tyson who was making a shift to MMA, things would have been the same. The Gypsy King would have absolutely no chance at winning. And the reason is simple. He has no MMA experience at all. And all it would take is one punch. But when Francis is in the octagon, he isn't just trying to steer clear of punches. He needs to watch out for those kicks, takedowns, and slicing elbows as well. And Tyson, well, he just needs to keep an eye on his opponent's fists, because that's the only threat in the boxing ring. And yeah, this might come off as really controversial, but I think MMA is way more complex than boxing. And even though the Predator has a chance in the ring, the WBC heavyweight champion wouldn't even have a 1% chance of beating the Cameroonian inside the cage. That's just how different the two sports are. But then again, for Ngannou, the equation couldn't be any simpler. Hit and don't get hit. As long as he's able to do that, there's a possibility he might just take over exhibition boxing this year. But when you think about it, don't Deontay and Ngannou have the same weapon? A powerful right hand. That's it. That's the most dangerous weapon up their sleeve. And the fact that Tyson was able to beat Wilder, a natural boxer, just goes to show you how great he is. Plus, it's not even about Francis stepping in Tyson's world, to be honest. If you try getting to the bottom of it all, Ngannou just isn't built for someone like Fury. See, the Predator is used to fighting for, at most, 5 rounds. And the WBC heavyweight champion, well, he's used to those grueling 12-round fights, so there's a huge difference in their cardio. And without any sugarcoating, the former UFC heavyweight champ just isn't cut out for boxing that long. And I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but Tyson has this thing where he clinches onto his opponent and makes them carry all of his body weight, tiring them out in the process. He did the same against Wilder, and he'll probably do it again against Francis as well. So not only does he have more experience and better cardio, but he's a lot more strategic and tactical. Although the Predator does have a couple of months to prepare for the fight, and as long as he's motivated and isn't thinking about the money, he can pull off an upset. All he has to do is go in there with the right mindset to actually win and not just survive. Nothing is impossible. Who knows, maybe he'll be the first mixed martial artist to actually win a fight against a natural boxer, because as of right now, all of them have failed. Conor McGregor, Tyron Woodley, Ben Askren, and Anderson Silva. All these guys have failed to make their mark in the boxing world. Conor probably came the closest, as he took on Floyd Mayweather in perhaps the biggest crossover event in the history of the two sports. It was an epic battle, and the Notorious managed to land a lot of decent shots during the fight. Same with Anderson Silva. It's kind of sad how he failed against Jake Paul, but it was still a good fight to say the least. Woodley and Askren, though these guys got their butts handed to them by the problem child, as he swept both of them with a banger of a strike. And that makes me wonder, is it going to be the same thing all over again? Or will Ngannou come along and set a new tone? Only time will tell, but the whole reason for all this is to understand how history has played out. No matter who it was, as long as it was an exhibition fight against a big-time boxer, the decision has always been against mixed martial artists. So this just makes me wonder, is Ngannou only doing this for the money? There's a reason why fans haven't seen boxers make a shift to MMA yet. They know there's going to be absolutely no chance they survive in the cage. And as long as they can keep getting these fighters to come over to their world in the hopes of getting the biggest paycheck of their lives, things will continue to play out like they have in the past. Even MMA legend Khabib Nurmagomedov thinks Francis is all about the money. Unfortunately for Ngannou, a guy from his sport isn't exactly optimistic about his chances, and I'm sure he didn't mean to throw any shade at him, but the eagle is very raw. And while talking about this particular matchup, he laid down the facts hard, as he shared his opinion about how this fight is nothing but money for the former heavyweight champion. Khabib mentioned how he's talked to Francis a couple of times, and knowing where he comes from, it's kind of understandable why he'd be willing to put everything at stake for this fight. It's all about the money. That's it. He doesn't care about the result. He doesn't care about training. The Predator is just looking forward to all the nice things he'll buy after the matchup. But it doesn't end there. Even if he were to spend the next few months going all out in the gym, it still wouldn't make a difference, and that's because Fury is the best boxer in the world right now. He's an entirely different level, and not even Alexander Usyk could beat him if he wanted to. Those are some big statements from the former lightweight champ, but yeah, apart from the money, I don't understand why Francis wants this fight because there's just so much to lose. But that's not what Iron Mike Tyson thinks, though. In fact, he believes nothing is impossible, and Ngannou might just shock fans after pulling off an upset at Saudi Arabia. The fact that Mike Tyson is saying all this makes it a much stronger case. I mean, I get that Khabib is one of the greatest fighters of the modern-day era, but this is Iron Mike I'm talking about, probably the baddest man on the planet a few decades ago. And having seen Francis fight, he thinks the Cameroonian giant has what it takes to pull off an upset and walk away with his first professional boxing victory. It'll still be an exhibition win, to be honest, but it'll be enough to get him started. And who knows? If he manages to connect with that deadly right of his, it might just open up a lot of doors, giving him even more high-profile boxing opponents in the future. So from the Predator finally getting his shot at the Gypsy King, to Mike Tyson siding with the former UFC champ to pull off an upset, that was everything about Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury.